guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is finally the day we are recapping my very first marathon. I'm sorry it has taken me so long to get this video up, but there has been a lot going on in my life. I went on my bachelorette party like not even a full week after the marathon, I think, or maybe it was like a week and a half, but I had to get ready for that. Went on that trip, ended up losing my voice for like a whole week, so obviously couldn't film. And then most recently, I got sick with something that felt and feels like very COVID-like, and I'm finally coming out of that. I actually went on a short run today. So really excited to be back with you guys and talk through everything. I'm gonna break this video up into 3 parts. So first part is gonna be kind of the pre-race prep, my taper, like the few weeks leading up to the race and the few days before. And then second part is gonna be the actual race, as much as I can possibly remember mile by mile. And then the third part is gonna be like kind of my takeaways from running my first marathon and training, and then what my plan is gonna be going forward in running and fitness in general. So let's go ahead and get into it. So just to start off, I'll say leading up to the race was not as ideal as I would have preferred for my very first marathon. It was actually quite a stressful time for me. If you've been watching my videos, most of you know that I'm getting married at the very end of this year and moving to New York City. And so my fiance and I were in the process of selling our house in Arkansas. And so was kind of going through that and going through moving and selling basically everything I owned, because none of it is going to fit in our apartment in New York, and we weren't taking any of it with us. So that was a little bit of a stressful process, and that was literally 2 weeks before is when we were going through all of that. So did like all the moving, which was very physical and just emotionally stressful too, like getting rid of everything I owned. And then I took all the belongings that I had that fit in my car that I'm taking to New York, and then I went and stayed with my mother-in-law for the week before the race. So great environment, great house to be in, but also just wasn't like what I was used to. It wasn't like my home, you know? So that was another little factor in there. And then as far as the taper goes, I'm gonna try to remember. 3 weeks out, I ran 39 miles. 2 weeks out, I ran 20 miles. And then the week leading up to the race, I think I only ran like 7 miles. I only ran twice. I ran on Tuesday. I ran like 3.6 miles, I think. And then I ran on Thursday and ran about 3 miles, somewhere around 7. Once I got to Minnesota, I was like, could I do a shakeout run on Friday or Saturday? Yeah, but do I need to? No, I didn't feel like I needed it for the purpose of nerves. And it's not like there was any fitness or anything to be built at that point. And asking my fiance slash coach, he just said it was up to me. Didn't feel like I needed it. I definitely got some steps around the city, so that felt good enough for me. So that was kind of my taper. Okay, so let's talk carb loading now, because I feel like this is a very important factor in my race performance. If you guys know Floberg runs on YouTube, I've been watching him a lot, and he has been doing the I think it's like 5 to 8 grams of carbs per pound of body weight, or per kilogram of body weight, something like that. I'll have to get the exact and write it down below, or I'll put it on the screen. But he has been doing that, and it's worked really well for him. And obviously, just knowing what I know about the marathon, it is so much different than the half. Like, you need those carb stores, and I was bound and determined to not hit the wall. So I did the math, and it said I needed like 600 grams of carbs essentially for the 3 days leading up to the race. Let me tell you guys, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot. Even as a runner who loves carbs, like, it was really difficult. It was really difficult. So I think like Thursday, the first day, I probably got around 450, and I'd probably say between 450 to 550 on Friday and Saturday. Some of the things I used for that were some high carb cereals, some fig bars. Those are like 39 grams of carbs, some fruit strips, pure carbs. And I won't lie to y'all, I ate a lot of candy corn, which is a controversial candy, but I love it. And it is pure carbs, pure carbs. So ate a lot of that, and that made up the bulk of my carb load. Obviously I ate bread. And then another thing I did was a lot of juices, like apple juice, orange juice. I think I got like some sort of mixed mango juice at Walmart that was like 66 grams of carb. Any carb that I could get in the form of liquid, that's what I did. That's what I did. We'll get to the end of like my takeaway on what I would do differently as far as carb loading goes, but this I do feel was key for me. The night before the race, I ate a big bowl of pasta. I had a bagel that day. I had a waffle that day with syrup. Go back and look at my race video. I think I like show you guys for the most part what I had eaten the 2 days that I was actually in Minnesota before the race. So as far as the night before, my nerves definitely started to kick in, and something that I would recommend to anyone running their first marathon or any race of any kind that you've trained for such a long time for is go back and look through your Strava or whatever app you use to track your runs and look at the work you've put in, because that just calmed any nerves that I had over like performance or anything so much, because I ended up counting my double-digit runs, and I had done 20 double-digit runs since the middle of June, which is like, that feels crazy to me. Like, that feels so crazy to me, but it gave me the biggest confidence boost. Like, it just made me remember that I've trained for this, I can do this, because the taper messes with your mind, obviously. So like the 2 weeks that you're running so much less, you feel like you forget all the training you've done. It's like out of your mind. Highly recommend doing that. That's like probably my #1 tip. Second big thing I did is I made a race plan with my fiance / coach. A lot of you guys know, but he is running _ real estate on YouTube. Shout out, go follow his channel. He is a multi sub-3 marathoner. He's going to Boston in April. Super excited for that. But so he's been my coach, extremely knowledgeable about the marathon and how to race a marathon very effectively. So he's been my coach. We looked at the map. I'll put it up here again and you can go see it in my race video. And actually like he talks through the plan, but we had to make a plan because first of all, it was my first marathon and pacing was going to be important. And then secondly, there is a lot of elevation gain from miles 20 to 23, which is like already an extremely difficult part of the race. I had to assume, not having ever done that before. And it was, let me tell you, it was. Making a plan also just helped me feel really good. And the plan we made was just really try to clip off really consistent miles starting at like a 9:30, 9:45 pace. And then just knowing and accepting and being okay with the fact that on those hills, I would dip into the 10s. We were leaving space for that to happen because we just knew it was gonna happen. And I think it felt good to bake that into the plan versus not have that in the plan, try to stay on pace and then be stressing about it during the race. So that was really helpful. The next thing we talked about was the wind. There wasn't a lot we could really plan for with that, but just to expect that it might be a factor. And if so, I was going to have to adjust my effort. So I think it ended up not being that bad, and I'll get into that in the race section, but looking at the forecast, it was looking like potentially up to 30-mile gusts, which the runners know. That ain't nothing, okay? That ain't nothing. That was the plan. And then the third thing was like setting the time goal. And so obviously a lot of runners do this, but there's like an A goal, a B goal, and a C goal. A goal we decided for me was sub 4:15. That would be like my highest level of performance, amazing day, great marathon, left it all out there. And then B would be as close to that as possible, whatever that would look like. And then C would just be to finish, even if that was like over 5 hours because I blew up or whatever. So those are my 3 goals. Keep that in mind. But those were my 3 goals going into the race. And I felt really, really confident in those. My watch was telling me I could run about a 4:10 marathon or like a 4:11, I think. So that was also a really nice confidence boost, even to see that the Garmin algorithm believed in me. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into the actual race. Now, I have to say, a lot of it was a total blur for me, guys. Like, it really is. And when you're running that many miles, they do all run together. I'm gonna do my best, and I really reflected and took lots of notes, so hopefully I did good for you guys. Okay, so the first thing I wanna say is that I did not have what I perceive, and maybe I'm wrong, but what I perceive to be a lot of people's first marathon experiences, which is they fly and feel amazing for the first 10 miles. And it's just like, they're having so much fun and like they feel amazing. Their legs aren't heavy, they're so light. I did not have that experience. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, I told my fiance this, but I feel like I clocked in at mile 3. Like I put in my punch card and I clocked into work and I was working from then on through the whole entire race. Yeah, even from mile 3, I was like, okay, like we're in this, like we're here today. We showed up to work and it is not going to be easy. It is not going to be a breezy time. I think that could be a lot of factors. I think that could be just the fact that I was running an aggressive pace that was gonna be a race pace, a difficult pace to hold for 26.2 miles. Plus just the accumulation of all of the training that I did for honestly the whole entire year leading up to it. And then all the life stuff on top, the travel, I mean, you name it. Who knows? I think it was a combination of all of them. I would love to have that like light, airy feeling in my next one if I do another, but safe to say I didn't really have it. I was working from the beginning. So let's talk about the first few miles. I definitely came out hot. I'll post all of my splits as we go as I'm talking about this, but definitely came out hot because my first one was sub 9. But obviously my effort didn't feel like it was like sub 9 at all. There's actually some elevation in the first 3 miles I remember, and I was like, already? Like already? Are you serious? Anyway, so definitely came out hot in those first few miles. I believe, I don't have them pulled up because I'm literally filming on my phone, but I want to say like my first 10 miles were in the lower 9s, like more in the 920s. And that was feeling pretty good. Like I said, definitely was working. Like I had to focus to hold the effort, but it wasn't like anything crazy. And I think too, like this was a big marathon. Like there was constantly a lot of people, so you're dodging people's feet. The roads obviously were running through like downtown Minneapolis and stuff like that. The roads were, you're dodging potholes. They kind of went like this. So like depending on what part of the road you're on, you're kind of doing that sideways running thing. So I think that also contributed to my legs not feeling like amazing. Like I kind of felt like just some of my joints were hurting a little bit and stuff. And I think that too was just a switch up. Plus, I was running in Alpha Flies, which I had only done one run in those previously. So I feel like that probably contributed to some of that. Just legs feeling not amazing is how I would describe it. Okay, let's also talk about heart rate. So my heart rate was like immediately in the high 170s, which I knew I could hold that for a long time. My previous half PR, I held like mid 190s for 2 hours. So I know that I can hold high 170s, low 180s for 4 hours. I knew that I could do that. But I did know if I went over 184, 185, that is a danger zone that we would not be able to come back from if we entered into that too soon. So my main goal was like obviously run by pace to get my goal time, but also being really mindful of heart rate because I did not want to go into that too soon because that would almost guarantee me hitting the wall essentially. So if I looked down and kept saying high 170s, even if it got a little into the mid 180s, but then would come back down, I was okay with that. I also want to say that my heart rates were accurate because I wore my chest strap for the whole entire race, which was important to me just to get full data, like knowing this was my first marathon. Okay, let's talk about gels. So I think I took my first gel at the 25-minute mark. I know a lot of people go like 30, even 40 minutes, but I didn't go by mileage, I went by minutes. And for me, I could almost feel myself like needing it at the 25-minute mark every time. I kind of thought, oh, I could wait for 30, but I almost felt like I needed that boost. Like I needed some sort of quick energy boost every 25 minutes. So that is what I did. And it actually ended up working out very, very well for me. I didn't get too full or anything like that, which I'm kind of surprised by, but also like you're so locked into the effort in my opinion, that I don't think that was on my mind. Like it was full on like, I need this to perform and I'm going to take it down and move on. Probably the biggest blur miles for me were miles like 3 to 13 because I was feeling still pretty decent at this point. I saw my family for the first time, my family and my fiance at mile 8. So that was a really nice boost. That's like when you're really like, you're finally settled in. And so it's really good to get that boost and reminder that there's people there cheering you on, following you along in the race. And then I saw them again at like mile 14. And if you go back and look at my race video, I give them this face like that. And I remember my exact thinking of giving them that face, particularly my fiance, because I knew he'd understand, was I'm feeling it, boys and girls. Like we are working, okay? We are working and we still got this exact amount to go. So that was what that face meant. Because yeah, I will say like that's when it really set in, was halfway, was like, we better buckle up because this is gonna be hard. This is gonna be hard. Moving on. Miles 16 through 19 were by far some of the hardest miles of the race for me. I started to dip more into like the 9:38s, 9:40s, 9:45 range. And it was hold on for dear life at that point. It was like the mental anguish of realizing you have 10 more miles to go and it's already hurting was really difficult to overcome. So I think those 3 miles for me were just like trudging along, staying under 10, staying in the 9s, and just knowing don't dip into those 185 heart rates. Like keep just trudging along because you still have a while to go. But yeah, those are some of the most difficult miles for me because that's really when it started to hurt and really when I realized how much I still had to go. And something that's funny that really helped me get through those miles was like mentally telling myself, just get to mile 20, just get to mile 20, because that's like a new segment of the race, which is the hills. And then after the hills, you're just done. Like you're almost done. You're just down to the finish and there's nothing hard ahead of you. Which, yes, I know none of that makes sense because it was actually going to get harder at mile 20, not easier. But that was just what I had to do in my mind to like mentally break up the race, because just thinking like I have 10 miles left was not working for me at that point in time. And you got to do whatever you got to do to stay positive and give yourself like new markers to achieve. So then we made it to mile 20, which is when the uphill climb started. And you guys, like, whoever designed this race course is literally evil. My mantra at this point was 1 foot in front of the other. I knew I was going to be slower, and at this point I'm hurting so bad. Like I want to be done so bad. I still have 6 miles to go. And so it was just 1 foot in front of the other and don't walk were like my 2 things, because everyone around me was walking. Like everyone around me was walking up these hills. I mean, they were literally like this at some points. Like it was hard. It was difficult to even run up them, but I just kept going. I think the lowest pace I dipped into was like an 11:15 at one point. But yeah, I had seen my family and my fiance around like mile 18. So that definitely really helped and gave me a boost to go a little quicker. And then I summited the mountain, and at like mile 23, this is when I saw my fiance and he was like, how you feeling? How you feeling? And I said, like, beep. Like shit, I felt so bad. I did not feel good. I felt terrible. Honestly, the hills just gassed me. My heart rate had got like close to 190 on the hills at that point. So I was just like, I think I was like mad. I was like straight up mad at whoever designed this course because they were so terrible. And I was asking him, I was like, is that the end of the hills? Like, did I make it to the top? Like, is that it? And he was like, yes, you got it. He just gave me the best encouragement in that moment. He was like, you've got 3 miles left and then you're a marathoner. Like, don't quit, whatever you do. And he said, I need you to go to a different place right now. He's like, I need you to go to a different place. And I was like, okay. So I refocused, and then immediately I was back running like really low 10s and like just below 10, like 9:45. That was a pivotal moment in the race for me, seeing him and my parents at that point, because your girl was down bad. She was down bad. So also at this point, it's getting a lot warmer out. Like the sun was completely in the sky. I mean, it was like 11 a.m., 11:30 by this point, potentially, I think. So it was hot. And so at all the stations, like my mouth was getting really dry. I was just taking water and like dumping it on myself. It was just full on survival mode at this point. There was a guy that we ended up running probably like 2 miles directly next to each other, and that, like, it's funny when you're in a race like that, you literally don't speak, but you know you're like helping each other along. So that was really helpful as well. And then I gotta say, like, I think mentally, if you look at the race map and what everyone's telling you while you're out there running is that the last 3 are downhill, and that just wasn't the case. For me, at least, didn't feel that way. They're net downhill, but like they're still like rolling hills. So I just, until the very end, I never felt like I just went downhill. The last 3 miles were really difficult. Like they are exactly what everyone says they are. You have to dig so deep in your soul to not walk and to not go at a pace that you don't want to be going at. Like to go at that faster pace. So that was really hard. So I think like mile 24 and 25 for me were like 10 flat, which I'm still pretty pleased with just because of like how dirty those hills did me. And then I think like the last 400 meters or so is definitely straight downhill, and I just bombed that. And actually, like, I don't know if this is true or if something got messed up, but my heart rate legitimately said 230, you guys. It said 230. Like, it's like, oh, I was dying, like, hee hee, but like, no, literally my heart rate was like, you stop running. You've been running for 4 hours and however many minutes of change, like, freaking finish already. Once I saw the finish line, I mean, elation. And I looked at my watch and I think it said like 4:12 or 4:13 or something. And the finish line was still like a good distance away. And I was like, you will be darned. I don't want to say another curse word, but if you don't pick up the freaking pace and get your goal time, because you're so close. So I sprinted it in, which I'm really, really happy that I still had that in my legs too. Like, to be able to finish strong just really meant a lot to me. I looked at my watch, it was like 7-minute pace. So felt amazing about that finish, and crossed the finish line and teared up a little bit. Immediately like bent over, took a little break. And your mind plays tricks on you because you're like so happy that it's the finish line. You've literally been running for over 4 hours, at least in my case. And yet you still are like, wow, I can't believe that's actually the finish, because you have committed to enduring. You have committed to the distance. You've committed to just being in the pain cave. The pain cave is real. The pain cave for me was like 20 through 26, like, as my fiance always tells me, like, the marathon is a 10K with a 20-mile buy-in, and like, he just couldn't be more right about that. Like, I was a resident of the pain cave. I pitched a tent. I started a fire. Like, we were in it, but finished strong. And I think my final time, this is so funny that I still don't know the exact time. I will put it up here. I think it's like 4:14:02 or something. So cleared the 4:15 goal by a whole minute almost. And what a race, y'all. What a race. All in all, I'm just so proud of the effort. I'm so proud of the training I put in. I just can't believe still that I did that I ran a full marathon. Like, that doesn't seem real. It is so far. I am going to New York this weekend for the NYC marathon, and I was watching a video of like mile by mile from like the POV of a runner or a car. And it just put into perspective for me how long it is. Like, it doesn't matter how long it takes you to run a marathon. If you run a marathon, you're a literal hero in my eyes, because it's a wild experience. So, part 3 of the video, what is next for me and what would I change? So, just starting off, like, about what I would change, like, not much. I, all in all, had like a dream first marathon experience. I didn't hit the wall. I didn't get cramps. I didn't chafe. I didn't get a blister. None of my toenails fell off. Nothing even bled. Like, I didn't walk one time. Like, it just all went really well. And obviously, like, is that just maybe a little luck? Sure, but I also prepared to not have any of those things happen, because I've heard the horror stories, and I just didn't want me to be that runner that any of that happened to on the first race. And so I prepared really well. I just think my consistency in training, like, I just really never missed, and just staying healthy, which was good habits of like getting lots of sleep and recovery and healthy eating, hydration, all of that really aided in that. And then also, like, my hydration and my carb load beforehand, I think, were so key. And then my fueling throughout the race. Like, I think all of that put together is really what helped seal the deal on the no cramping and no hitting the wall for me. The only thing I think I would change in the future is I'd still do that same carb load, but I would just change up some of my carb sources. I'd try to get more fiber in there, so more carbs from like actual fruit and things like that, because it's a little TMI and I won't go there, but I, let's just say, now know exactly what I would look like at 6 months pregnant. Because after the race for a good 3 days, that is what I looked like. Okay. I had some issues going to the bathroom. I was like a grandma taking some Metamucil. So yeah, that is what I would change. I would add more fiber and honestly just more hydration because I think that also helps with that issue. And my mouth was like so dry the whole entire race, which is not just from the running and the effort potentially, but also I just think being even more hydrated than I was like couldn't have hurt, you know? And to just go back, like I had 2 element packets the day before and then 1 every single day before that, and then like a lot of normal water. So I definitely feel like I could have upped it though. Hydration is like the hardest thing for me. I don't know why, but just constantly ingesting liquid and constantly having to go to the bathroom, it's tough. It's the toughest part for me in like nutrition and being a runner, but there you go. My biggest takeaways. I have 3 really big ones. And my first one is you have to know your body. And I think for me, this is just maturing as a runner. If you guys have followed along my marathon training journey, and I'll link a video up here where I talk about it, but I adjusted my pace, like my goal pace, pretty big in the middle of training. I originally started out really wanting to run a sub 4 marathon, and halfway through I just was assessing my body, my fitness, where I was at the time, and I just took that off the table. And I think that was the best thing I could have done because it let me have such a good race that I can really celebrate. I think if I would have tried to go for that sub 4 goal, I would have hit the wall, I would have blown up. I don't think it would have been a pretty situation. I just don't think I'm quite there yet. We'll get to it. I definitely think I have it in me, but just knowing my body and knowing what I was capable of proved to be so valuable. And so if you are looking to run really any sort of race, I just urge you to focus on that. Like listen to your body, you know, pay attention to your training and your heart rate and like everything that your body's trying to tell you, because that to me is maturing as a runner, is just knowing what you're capable of and then going and executing that. My second biggest takeaway is running actually easy, and how important that is. I know it's like what a lot of runners preach, but I don't know if people always do it, if that makes sense, even if that's what they're preaching. And y'all know on here, like I have always preached this, like easy is not a pace. That is like honestly the reason I started my YouTube channel, is like I wanted to be able to share that with other people and have that conversation, because there's so many influencers out there that are running 9-minute miles for their easy pace, and that is just not as realistic for some of us. You know, that'd be amazing if one day that's my easy pace, and I would be proud of that because I would have put in the work to get there. And all of those people that are running 9-minute miles have definitely put in the work to get there. So that's amazing. It's not a lot of us. I don't think it's the majority of runners, especially newer runners. And so, yeah, I think that is my biggest takeaway, is don't have pride in your easy pace. For sure, like take pride in your race pace if that's something that's important to you, but there's no reason to take pride in your easy pace really, because I ran so many of my runs at like a 12-minute or 12:30 pace all through training. Like a lot of my double digit runs I ran on Wednesdays, like I ran 10, 11, 12 milers, were at a 12:30 pace, because that is all my legs had in me at that point in training. And I just needed the aerobic benefit. And I literally ran 26.2 miles, 3 minutes per mile faster than that. So your easy pace, just like for me, it's just really not indicative of what you can actually do. And I think way too many people run way too fast on their easy days because they're ego and they just won't slow down. So this is my encouragement to you, to just run whatever your easy pace is that day, because if you're me, if you're like me, every day is a little different, and that's okay. Third, mental strength and how important it is for running. I think being mentally strong is a requirement for running the marathon. I really do. I think if you are not really mentally strong, you're going to have a really difficult time. I think even just committing to training for 4 months, that's how you build that mental strength so you're ready for the race. Like I think the training is just as much of like a mental training as it is a physical training. But yeah, that is something I've learned. And I think that's why I'm so proud of the effort, is because I know like I'm mentally strong, and I take a lot of pride in that, because your mind, I mean, everyone says it, but your mind gives up far before your body does, and you have to keep pressing on. It might look a little different. Someone just called me, so I had to kind of pause and restart filming. But let's get into what is next for me in running and just fitness in general. I don't really know what's next for me. Races are funny the whole entire time. You'll be saying, why am I doing this? Why did I sign up for this? Why did I choose to do this? I never want to do this again. But then the pain ends. You cross the finish line. You stop. You don't have to do it any longer. And that is what keeps you coming back. That's actually one of my mantras when running is like, this pain is temporary. And yeah, if you know, you know, but that is what keeps you coming back. And so I don't know. I don't know what's next for me. Will I do another marathon? I certainly think it's in the cards, but I just can't guarantee anything right now. I definitely know I have a sub 4 marathon in me. I know I'm absolutely capable of that. Do I want to do that? I don't know. Probably, if I had to guess, if I know myself. But where I'm at right now, too, is like I've trained for this thing basically all year. I started base building on like Jan 1. So I'm tired is where I'm at. And I'm just really looking forward to having like a balanced workout exercise life. And I'm really looking forward to enjoying getting married. So those are my biggest priorities right now. I do think you'll see me probably doing that at some point because I also have to consider having kids at some point and how that will impact marathon running. So it's definitely on my mind. But I will tell you that my biggest focus for 2025 that I will be documenting on my channel is really a strength and speed focus. I have really neglected my muscles. I want to get really strong again. I don't know if I've ever been really strong in my life, so I would love to really focus on that and get really strong. And then alongside that, also focus on speed. I have no idea what I'm capable of, like in a 5K race right now. I just have no idea. And so that is really intriguing to me. And obviously, if I'm ever gonna run a sub 4 marathon, it starts with just getting faster in general. And so I think that's gonna be the focus for me for a while, maybe do some shorter races. Obviously, I'm gonna be moving to New York City, and that is like the best running culture there is. There's races basically every weekend. So I'm really excited about that. And I think also where I'm at with it for running another marathon is like, I don't want to toe the line for another marathon unless I know the sub 4 is in the bag and it's not a question of if, it's by how much. That is just kind of how I feel about it. All in all, I just want to say thank you guys so much for supporting me. Thank you if you made it to this part in the video and you've just seen me talking and rambling this whole entire time. It just means so much to me that anyone cares about my running journey and my life in general. And so I just really appreciate you guys being here. If you have any questions about the race, please drop them in the comments below. I will get to all of them. I love to talk to you guys in the comments. That's so fun for me to get to connect with y'all. And please give it a thumbs up if you like this video and subscribe. I'm getting back into running a little bit. I'm feeling better. So I ran like 2.5 miles today. I'm just starting out with like 30 minutes here or there, but things will be ramping up soon. So stick with me. And yeah, thank you guys again so much. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.